When Super Typhoon Odette hit Cebu in 2021, one of the affected communities that we worked with was the evacuation center at CICC, or the Cebu International Convention Center, which is a convention center that was built using public funds and then abandoned. So the parking lot was turned into an evacuation center. By this time in 2021, the residents of the evacuation center were the victims of two separate fires in urban poor communities in Mandaue City. The first is the 2016 fire in Barangays Gizo and Mantuyong, and the second is the 2019 fire in Barangay Tipolo. So they had been in evacuation for years without knowing if they will ever be relocated or if they will be returned to their homes. And this isn't an evacuation center in the usual sense. This was an open parking lot where people had to build their own makeshift houses. So when the super typhoon came, it basically leveled all the houses, sent trees flying, because there was no real protection from the typhoon. And that is just one example of how these natural disasters that occur every single year in the Philippines affect marginalized sectors. The Philippines is reported to have at least 20 typhoons a year. This means that there's no power for days, for months even, and people struggle to find a clean source of water. And right now, it's typhoon season. When it's nearing the end of the year, we always know to expect a typhoon. Super Typhoon Odette happened December 16, 2021. I remember that clearly because I was there. And every year, the entire country gets together to start donation drives for the affected areas. And I think it really says something about our psyche that the first thing we do after a typhoon, despite being victims ourselves, is to start donation drives, because we have gotten used to government aid and assistance not being enough or having it at all, because there is no real disaster risk reduction program, or even if there's one, it's not properly funded, usually because of corruption. Exactly like the flood control projects that were supposed to stop all of this death and destruction this last month. There are no natural disasters. There are natural hazards like typhoons and earthquakes, but there are no natural disasters. Things become a disaster based on how it impacts society and the people. Things become a disaster when there are no programs or infrastructure to prevent death and destruction, when there are no financial mechanisms that will help victims after these disasters. Our resilience as Filipinos, it's not an excuse for the government not to do their job. It's not an excuse for us not to demand better.